It is all over. It's known. And many of these Asal counties governors have been arrested because they have been implicated in the corruption, misappropriation of the devolution fund. But I don't say they are all, I don't blame all of them. It is all over the country. People are corrupt all through. And it is not only in Isiolo. If you look at Turkana, there is 3 teachers who are managing 4 schools. And one of the teachers, assumed to be a teacher, was class 2 dropout, who was managing class 1. And she dropped out in class 2. And she was teaching class 1. And she dropped out in class 2 because there is no other capital resource there. So it is not all over there. There is one in Daraka. There is another one in Kajiado. It's all over spread. It's not only Isiolo. But the fact is, the issue is, if we put all these things, quality education entails quality teachers, trained teachers for all the subjects. 2, infrastructure development for all these people. And where does it come from? We as the stakeholders are responsible for all this. The parents who are through BOM, they identify the school needs. And then they identify all other challenges that the school encounter.
All right, Dr. Galgala, let me hear from Janet here, because important points that Dr. raises here. But at the same time, there's all this blame game that education is a national function. It's not devolved. If you go to the schools like what I'm referring to, that Amine Chebet was able to feature in Isiolo County, you don't hear a lot of people taking responsibility. So how do we make sure that happens at a time that the Minister of Education is also talking about that after this intake, we'll have to audit and see, do you actually need all these schools based on the numbers that eventually enlist?
I came across some data from the Commission on Revenue Allocation that was very interesting. And I do not want to dwell on Northeastern and Alliance because the issue has become so much politicized and the issue has been missed. But I want to give an example of Nairobi, for an example. Nairobi has only 101 public secondary schools. And according to the data of the learners that start grade 9 in Nairobi, there were about 71,000. So I want Nairobians who are listening to me to tell me, at what point will you escape your child to be admitted in a day school somewhere outside Nairobi? Because 71,000 of our children cannot fit in the 101 secondary schools that we have in Nairobi. And when we want to have conversations with our leaders, it is you who will not agree to hold your leaders to account. Because when a governor of Kiambu is investing in building schools, the governor of Nairobi is investing 1.7 billion shillings in a feeding program. Those are your priorities. So you finish eating, after eating, your child does not have anywhere to go for secondary school. In short, what I'm saying is, our choices have consequences. Let us be serious about the investments that we make. When you hear people saying that communities are spending a lot of their resources to build schools, like for an example, I think a county like Nakuru, for example, that has quite about 343 public secondary schools against a population of 53,000 that sat the grade 9 tests, for example. It's very hard for you to hear residents of Nakuru complaining that our child was called to a day school outside our county because they already have enough homeschools. And the same situation happens in Murang'a, happens in Nyeri, and but there are counties like Mombasa. Mombasa has only 50 public public secondary schools. So that much as we do not want to have this conversation, we cannot keep saying counties came so that then we are self-governing, so that then we are using resources in the best way that we know how. How is it that you do not know that you have less secondary schools than you would need? How is it that governors have money for everything else apart from what matters to them? And they want to bring these conversations about, alliance. We cannot keep talking about alliance. In any case, the leaders who are talking about Alliance High School, I dare them. How many alliances have you started? alliance, the one that we are talking about, was begun by colonialists. What have you done? I mean, these are conversations that we really must have.
But on that point of governance, knowing too well it's not a devolved function.
Let me correct you.
Yeah.
How do you explain that a feeding program, it is not a function of the county, but it is being implemented? So do we go cherry picking? We don't want to do this. It is not. It's a national government function.
Just say,
do we want to do this? It's not a national government function. Yes.
Education.
Yes.
At a basic level and a tertiary level is a national government function.
Sure.
The governors should only be engaging in ECD, early childhood.
Is that what they are doing?
Unless there's a concession between the county government and the national government.
We know that governors have secured concessions with national governments to do other things that are of interest to them, especially issues that advance themselves politically. Okay. That's what they are doing. But the issues that are really important, how do you explain that Nairobi has 101 public secondary schools? Where do you expect Nairobi children to go? They will go to Kuria. They will go everywhere else. And then parents will be saying, our child has been called to a day school. What would you want the Minister for Education to do?
All right. Now, Daktari, with all this conversation, and of course it's potentially emotive and political, but it's reality that there are certain regions that are struggling with the level of schools that they have, the quality of schools that they have. And being a Kenyan, you'd want your child to go to the best.
Yeah, that's true. But first, let me, address the issue that we missed about day schools being merged. And I'm a strong advocate of that. The problem, the reason we have day schools almost in every village, even when the next school does not have enough students, is because it's political decision making. An MP comes in and wants to start their own schools. So, and then you have two schools, they both have school buses. They have, so I have argued very strongly, we need to merge and see how we can even share those resources. It makes sense. We must run our schools cost efficiently. As long as schools are springing up every day, it's going to be difficult for the Teachers Service Commission to even provide enough qualified teachers. It's not possible. So merging, yes, we have to do, because this is the best way to provide quality education at a reasonable cost. The emotive issue about disparities, I agree with Gaugalo that there are regions in this country that were historically disadvantaged, and those that were historically advantaged. Central Kenya, they have very good schools. He spoke about Maseno, Nyanza, Western Kenya, and so on. Those are, this is known. But after independence, new schools were established. And some of them were established by our government. In fact, the government also created national schools in every county. When I was in government, 2 in every county. And resources were provided to staff those schools. So the issue is this. Yes, there were disparities, but since devolution, and aware that a governor can really, if you want to prioritize education, you can put in money, as Janet has said. With devolution should have helped us bridge that gap. But more importantly, of course, it's a responsibility of central government. And if we insist it's a responsibility of central government, we must ask, therefore, why did schools like Shimolawatewa, disappear? Why is it that we don't hear about Marsabit High School and Garibatula, which were top schools? There are issues. There are issues about accountability. So I think the main, the thing is this: even as government will put money in schools, unless we ask for accountability, right from Jogo House to the regions, to the counties, and to the schools, we will not be, doing our best with the money that is available to support education. Right. So for me, it is not that we don't have any resources. The Minister of Education receives more money than any other ministry and receives more money than most other countries in this region. And yet we are not able to achieve as much, simply because money meant for education most of it is not used for that purpose.
Now, Doctor, as you come back on this, so we're also realizing, and I think we've been doing a bit of analysis of the KCSE 2025 results, that there are quite a number, 48.7% to be specific, of D+ and below. And learners that go to the day schools you're talking about here, 66% of them end up in that bracket of D+ and below. And when you ask a question, the NEC CEO, Dr. Jengere, was saying that the reason is partly because of the entry behavior. But you and I know that the quality of these institutions, there's a challenge there. I don't know if you have any thoughts of what would be a strategic intervention. So there's a proposal to merge those that are not justifiable based on the numbers. But what is a better strategy to enhancing those schools to make sure that even if you cannot afford to go to the national schools to be called to, you go to the neighboring day school and you can actually succeed?
Thank you, Sam. Let me take you back. For any system to be established, you look at 5 pillars of A's. A5, 5 A's. You have to look at those 5 A's before you come up with a system in education. One is accessibility. How do people access this institution? You look at it, that you have to look at the access. 2, the 2A, number 2, is availability. Availability of the school. Where are they based? Are they able to access these available schools in their locality? And that is another one. Then the second one is when we have, the other one is after availability, you have found the school, then you look at affordability. Affordability in the sense that you are paying fees, you are buying books, you are training teachers on the cost of the basic economic output for these people to achieve whatever education they want. That is affordability. You assess before you come up with a new system. Okay. Like this CBC or 844, you have to come up with this number 3. After availability, you look at what is called now acceptability. You accept the system. Is it affordable? Is it available? Is it accessible? That is what we call now acceptability. After acceptability, then you go now to embrace the new system that we have undergone all those processes. The 4th one, now we are coming up to what is called adaptability. That is now you adapt to the new system that is conducive to everybody. Now coming back, the issue is the boarding school in this country came as affirmative action, not the interest of the nation. Because if you look at the Ominde report, if you look at Ominde report, Gachagi report, Kamunge report, not Make. Make is a change of the system. But if you look at Kamunge report, Gachagi report of 1976, Ominde report of 1964-65, and then Kamunge of 1988, all of them, they said, unique challenges of the Asal counties must be addressed by the nation. Must be addressed by the nation. All of them recommended, and one of the affirmative action they recommended, in all those recommendations, one of it is a boarding school for Asal, to improve access. To improve access. Okay. That is very important. People are, why do they need boarding? It's because their livelihood does not encourage stationary. They are moving with their livestock from one place to another in search of pasture and water. But that is now to make this student to access formal education like any other student whose family are sedentarized, doing farming, doing agriculture, doing business. They are stationary at one place.
How are we faring on that front?
Pardon?
How are we faring on that front of establishing boarding schools?
Actually, all of us, people like me, I passed through a boarding school. All of us in nomadic counties went through a boarding school, not a stationary. Dr. Godana, who is becoming an example of Meru High School, and he was an A student, and he was told, do as Godana did. In Meru School, it became a motto. Okay. Because he went through a boarding school in Marsabit, which was established by missionaries. All boarding schools mostly are established by churches.
So,
you see?
So, is it viable today?
I am telling you, for us, it is viable. Because there is another
Is it possible to invest in that? And what does
it
take? What strategic intervention do we need for that to happen?
For that boarding, is to, when I was the chair of NACONEC, I went to assess all these boarding schools in Asal countries. I was sent to Isiolo and Marsabit. Although the facilities are dilapidated, I can tell you, but there are some boarding schools, like Bubisa Primary School. The government budgeted for a certain amount of money, but they exceeded even that amount of money the government gave in terms of boarding enrollment. The school was really pumped with the enrollment. If you go to St. Teresa Girls in Marsabit, if you go to SKM, where I attended the first group we attended is overwhelmed by the boarding student. So this can improve now access. This is the access I was talking about. And then the quality is also entailed. But coming to day school is also another way of improving access. A good example I give you. It's not only allowance. There's a school, which is a day school, which is called Morijo in Samburu. Out of 171 students who sat for this KCSE, 147 of them are secondary, university intake admission. 147 out of 171. I have analyzed all this. So it means...
All right, Dr. I hear you.
Yes.
Janet, your thoughts about the quality of grades you continue to receive, and like I had told Dr. Galgalo, despite the entry behavior that the marks may be low, we have seen situations, we have seen situations where that mark can actually be improved to a quality grade in KCSE.
Yeah, I say that the saddest moment of my life is usually when some of those results are released, not because learners have failed, but because of our pretense that the ground was fair. Knowing too well that the ground was never fair. The truth is that most of our day secondary schools, as much as we're here saying that day school is a way forward to expanding access, government does not invest in day schools. And that is a fact. And even now, when we are saying that 44 billion, I saw the president saying 44 billion shillings has been sent to schools. But the devil is in the details. How much actually hit that day school? Because day schools are under-enrolled, a good number of them, and that's why you hear the conversation about mergers, because we have not established a standard as a country to say what exactly is an economical school to run. What would make sense, so that we are saying it does not. You cannot send, say, 12 teachers in a school that has got 200 learners, and you send the same 12 teachers in a school that has got 700, learners. There is something that we are not telling each other here. We are lying. We're lying to each other. So when you hear the conversation about merging some schools, I think the Ministry of Education ought to lead from the front in terms of saying this is our standard. If a school has not hit 500 or 700, like for an example, I know when I started the task force on the new funding model, funding model, I got to know that using the Commission for University Education, there's a minimum. If a university doesn't have a minimum of about, is it 400 students, then it does not qualify to become a university. What is a standard for us to qualify a school to become a school? Because again, we're crying here that we have very limited resources. But look at how we are spreading these resources. And to just catch you on the question, on what you said, I think one of the challenges that I want to give the president today, we've suffered an eyesore when we hear the PS telling us that we had 50,000 ghost students. And I want to ask, what are we being told that information to do? What do we do with that information? There were 50,000 ghost students. Did ghosts withdraw the money? Because money was sent to those ghost students. Did ghosts withdraw the money? No, there is somebody who withdrew the money. That person is either in Jogo or somewhere in Treasury, because the teachers of this country have come out to say, no, it is not us. We gave accurate figures. Who exactly is this? Who exactly is this? And when the president is saying, we are really tough on corruption, and I am asking, you're tough on corruption, so where are these 50,000 ghosts? Even a small show cause letter. We have not seen any show cause letter to anybody. We have not seen anybody writing statements at the EACC, and you're fighting corruption. You are not fighting corruption. And worst of all, we cannot be telling parents there is no money. We cannot be telling head teachers there is no money. Yet, 50,000 ghost students. And I think to just, because this is unanswered by the PS, that these schools, most of them were secondary schools. Meaning what? Primary school is not lucrative to have a ghost because it's a common 1,400. So secondary school is why it's lucrative to have ghosts because it's 22,400 shillings. So I think the issue of accountability, as Dr. Kilemi Mwiria is saying, is one that also the ministry needs to lead from the front so that even head teachers can also be accountable. If you're not accountable as a ministry, where would you be coming from to ask head teachers to be accountable?
All right. Dr. Kilemi Muria, your thoughts about the many issues that have been spoken about, but also we are transitioning in now to the competency-based education. I think KCSE has only 2 cohorts, this year and next year. And KCSE has been very easy to even analyze the sort of performance we're having. Soon, it will be a totally different affair. How do you assess return on investment in education? Because if you're pumping in 706 billion shillings to the education sector every year, KCSE shows you that 50% of that class is scoring D+ and below, and I know the pass mark is D+ according to the Kenya National Examinations Council, but a significant size of that class failing. As you transition, how do you measure return on investment or value for money?
Yeah, first let me make some points to react to what my colleagues have said. Yeah. One on on day schools and the managing and numbers, and and Janet knows again because she was in this team. We did recommend the very minimum a number of students they should have for it to qualify to be registered. Mm-hmm. We did. That is already, it's with the ministry. The problem is one of implementation, and you don't want to touch politicians when they want to start new schools. Yeah. Secondly, the point Godana made about, Dr. Ngodana, Galgalo, Dr. Ngodana coming to middle school from Northeastern and being the best student. Yeah. And I'll tell you, I have been to school, and I know them professionally also. A lot of young people from Northeastern Kenya, when they get a chance, they're outstanding. Mm. But the reason they're outstanding is not because they have bigger brains, larger brains than any of us. It is because so few of them are able to make it through the system from that kind of environment. And the reason being, yes, it's true, it's government business. But what leaders realize in Central Kenya, in Nyanza, and Western Kenya, for example, and even Kitui and Machakos, is that although it is the responsibility of government, because we can't wait for government to do that, we as a community have to come together and improve the quality of our schools. And that's what they did. And members of parliament are interested in it. They follow up on the governance, on mobilizing resources from people and so on. That is why schools have come up that were never national, that are doing better than national schools. And it's just a challenge, Galgalo, Dr. Galgalo, to the people of Northeastern. And we are saying this in good faith, because we care for our children. The challenge is, if you have so much by way of resources, given the number of students you have to cater to, what is impossible about, I am one who believes, with all these guys, it is possible to have 2 alliances. One alliance boys, alliance girls in Marsabit, in Mandera, in those places. It is quite possible. And then we wouldn't have this problem of them scrambling for the few places that are elsewhere. Let me now come to the point you raised about how do we measure success. If there are so many failing, it means the system is not, it's failed. It's a system has collapsed. And it has not collapsed because of that child that is failing. It has collapsed because whoever is responsible to ensure that kid passes does not do their bit. And again, it is not just about head teachers, because then teachers can only do as much as the resources they have available to them. Yeah. It is about the top. These questions must be asked from the top. And the problem of good schools and good teachers, it is not, it is not a problem of local communities. It's a problem of Jogo House and the Teacher Service Commission. Mm. This is known. I mean, how many times has Citizen TV reported to us about good schools that are even used as tallying centers, for during elections? I mean, the thing is, and it's really astounding in this country. We are hearing all these reports. The biggest problem I have is that we do nothing about it, and we let it go, so that we hear again about another terrible report about corruption and so on. Right. So the point is one of, the system has basically failed. That's what it means. It's not the child. There shouldn't be so many failures in any system, unless those who are supervising over that system are not supposed to do that, are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Right.
Now, our time is up, but I want us to take a look at the feedback that has come to us at Citizen, which one? There. At Citizen TV Kenya, the hashtag to use is Citizen Tonight. What Kenyans are saying this evening, in as far as the conversation we've had here is concerned. So, protests hustler. What a name. Yeah, let me have a look. A whole generation will be going to waste. Why is that a new system which is totally unsustainable? Meanwhile, their children are studying under British system. Joe Amanon Sometimes media people just need to go to the ground, talk to open-minded teachers, not principals. That is when you realize an entire generation is being wasted, and in 10 years' time, the impact will be catastrophic. For instance, why introduce subjects that no one can teach in those schools? Joseph Wamboa, you're saying, sustainable change often requires advocacy at a systemic level. Governments need to commit to equitable education policies that explicitly aim to bridge the gap between different socio-economic groups. Civil society and advocacy groups can push for reforms that prioritize funding. Or Rutwa Sam, you're saying the government has so many unnecessary expenditures plus corruption totaling into billions, which adds no value if well utilized, can offer free education in our country up to university level and above. Is that it? And then Wairindi, you're saying school principals are untouchable. It seems they collaborate with the officials at the ministry to steal from the parents. And Jim Ross, you're saying that government should consolidate funds allocated to MPs, governors, ministries, and the presidency, reduce excess spending, and redirect the savings to make education entirely free from primary institutions to institutions of higher learning. I bet that's what you meant. Then finally, Wanyeke says that the government has brought total chaos and despair in collapsing education system in his journey to make Kenya Singapore. Children admitted in day schools 400 kilometers from their home, 40% of grade 10 students unable to report due to economic hardship. Most students schools of their choice. Okay, it's like you're saying. On the issue of uniforms, the government should select a set of uniforms for every stage, one for JSS, another for seniors, all the same across the country. This would reduce so much wastage. Now, I have 2 minutes to split across for us to wind up, starting with Dr. Galgalo. Your closing remarks.
Mine is about behavior, entry behavior.
Right.
And entry behavior, it depends on where you come from. There are some people who has facilities, but they are not performing. But there are some people who do not have facilities, but when they go to a good school, they excel even more than those who had passed through the exam. A good example, there was a child in Alliance who was admitted through computer system with 250 marks. But when it came to the final result, that boy got over B, you know, and that is a good result. So what matters is not the entry behavior of the marks. The other time, somebody with a 285 had A minus in the final analysis. So the issue is not the entry behavior. It is the exposure and the facilities you can access easily, and you will get it to it, and you can perform. And then...
Indeed, sorry, Dr. Galgalo, we are out of time. Indeed, as you say that, 173 learners who went to national schools ended up scoring an E. Janet?
Yeah, I think there's a conversation that we need to have, and especially in the broader concept of what exactly education is for this country. And we are speaking about education in the context of Article 43 of the Constitution and Article 53. And education is supposed to be free. Now, there's a conversation about developing senior schools. And that burden is likely to be left to the parents. And that's why you see the figures that you tabulated there were drawn from the Kilemi Muria Task Force. Kilemi sitting right here, really brought education to affordable levels. But when you add the component of development, which parents are being asked to pay 20,000 and 30,000, it's really creating a burden on parents. And we need to agree, is it the role of parents to develop schools, or it is the role of government to develop schools? Because then it's becoming really a bottleneck towards access. I think that is a conversation that we need to have, because if the plan of government is to just send capitation, I always say capitation is like money for matumizi, it's pocket money for electricity. It cannot be the plan for funding CBE. Capitation grant is not the plan.
All right. Dr. Maria?
Let me just pick on where you spoke about a lost generation. And not just this year, we've been losing lots of generations. And it is not their fault. It is because those who are, in charge of, who are responsible for them doing better are not doing it.
Yep.
So, I mean, I think Janet said choices have consequences. it's okay to continue blaming government and our elected representatives and so on. Yet, we do nothing about it. So, if people don't put the right people in place, what do they expect? Finally, and it is good that we have ambition to be like the Asian tigers. Not a problem at all. But what they did, they made education a priority and ensured that not so many fell by the wayside, because there is no country that can develop by leaving 60% of the young ones out of the economy. And when we have all these kids failing, it means they have no chance to contribute. So it is important, to invest to ensure that we do what we have to do for our kids, not just for their own benefit or the benefit of regions like where Gaugalo comes from, but also for the sake of this country if we have to take off.
Sure. Thank you so much, Dr. Clement Muria, who is the former Assistant Minister of Education, Janet Oko, an educationist, and Dr. Chris Galgalo, an educationist, but also former chairperson of the National Council for Nomadic Education, NACONEC, for making time for us. Asante sana, and you, the viewer, for sharing the feedback. We're taking a short break, but when we come back, we have business, including this story. South Africa's Nedbank Group makes a proposal to acquire 66% controlling stake in NCBA through a tender offer.
Not just a dreamer, I'm your thank you from the future.
The Bible says, my king is the king of the Jews. He's the king of Israel. He's the king of righteousness. He's the king of the ages. He's the king of heaven. He's the king of glory. He's the King of kings, and He's the Lord of lords. That's my King. I wonder, do you know Him? My King is a sovereign King. No means of measure can define His limitless love. He's enduringly strong. He's entirely sincere. He's eternally steadfast. He's immortally graceful. He's imperially powerful. He's impartially merciful. Do you know Him? He's the greatest phenomenon that has ever crossed the horizon of this world. He's God's Son. He's a sinner's Savior. He's the centerpiece of civilization. He's unparalleled. He's unprecedented. He is the loftiest idea in literature. He's the highest personality in philosophy. He's the fundamental doctrine of true theology. He's the only one qualified to be an all-sufficient Savior. I wonder if you know Him today. He supplies strength for the weak. He's available for the tempted and the tried. He sympathizes and He saves. He strengthens and sustains. He guards and He guides. He heals the sick. He cleanses the lepers. He forgives sinners. He discharges debtors. He delivers the captive. He defends the feeble. He blesses the young. He serves the unfortunate. He regards the aged. He rewards the diligent. And He purifies the meek. I wonder if you know Him. He's the key to knowledge. He's the wellspring of wisdom. He's the doorway of deliverance. He's the pathway of peace. He's the roadway of righteousness. He's the highway of holiness. He's the gateway of glory. Do you know Him? Well, His life is matchless. His goodness is limitless. His mercy is everlasting. His love never changes. His word is enough. His grace is sufficient. His reign is righteous. And His yoke is easy. And His burden is light. I wish I could describe Him to you. He's indescribable. He's incomprehensible. He's invincible. He's irresistible. Well, you can't get Him out of your mind. You can't get Him off of your hand. You can't outlive Him, and you can't live without Him. Well, the Pharisees couldn't stand Him, but they found out they couldn't stop Him. Pilate couldn't find any fault in Him. Herod couldn't kill Him. Death couldn't handle Him, and the grave couldn't hold Him. Yeah! That's my King. That's my King. The Bible says my King is the King of the Jews. He's the King of Israel. He's the King of righteousness. He's the King of the ages. He's the King of heaven. He's the King of glory. He's the King of kings, and He's the Lord of lords. That's my King.
Nedbank is set to take up the East African market by storm. This follows the announcement of the Johannesburg-listed lender's intention to acquire a 2/3 stake in NCBA, an equivalence of 66% of the bank, in a transaction set to be completed by the third quarter of the year. The transaction will see Nedbank invest upwards of $855 million. As Jimmy Mbogo now reports, the acquisition will see NCBA become a fully owned subsidiary of Nedbank.
The notice of intention from Nedbank Group to acquire a 2/3 stake of ordinary shares of NCBA from NCBA shareholders has taken the market by storm, with the move now seeing NCBA shares gaining 8% at the Nairobi Securities Exchange. In the proposals, Nedbank intends to buy NCBA shareholders out with an offer that will see them receive 20% cash offer, with the remaining 80% being settled as a share swap. According to NCBA, the transaction is a strong vote of confidence in its performance, governance and brand.
80% of the consideration will be paid in shares of Nedbank trading at the JSC, and 20% will be paid in cash. Obviously, as we will see, there's a caveat that there are shareholders who own shares which when converted would be less than 200 shares of Nedbank, then those will be paid in cash. and any shareholders who, for regulatory reasons, cannot invest offshore.
We do expect that this is actually positive news for shareholders. We expect a rally. Since the market's opened, we've seen an 8% improvement in our stock price, and we expect that will continue throughout the day as investors take into account the news and really see the opportunity that this unlocks for NCBA.
Despite Nedbank owning a majority stake in the lender, NCBA will retain its brand name, with Nedbank expected to use NCBA as a platform to expand across East Africa, while NCBA gains a larger balance sheet, access to corporate, investment and wealth management expertise, and new growth opportunities, particularly in markets such as Ethiopia and the Democratic Republic of Congo.
This will give us access to clients that perhaps before we wouldn't have had access to. We have international clients in this market that tend to prefer international banks. We believe now we're in a position where we can go and compete for those clients with everybody else. There are Southern African clients who bank exclusively with Nedbank who are here, and we think this gives us an opportunity to go after those clients.
Gashora has further assured the bank staff and shareholders that there will be no immediate disruption to customer experience, emphasizing that customers will continue to enjoy their services uninterrupted. He also assured staff that there are no agreed changes to NCBA's management, arguing that Nedbank is investing in the current leadership team.
Because Nedbank does not have a physical presence in the places where we operate, there will not be any overlap between us and Nedbank. And therefore, we do not envision our employees being affected negatively. Jimmy, you recall the reason we met many times when we were doing our integration was certainly because it affected our customers quite negatively, systems, people, and everything else.
Jimmy Mbogo, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
The Standard Chartered Bank says global markets are expected to stay strong in 2026, supported by continued investment in artificial intelligence, low interest rates and easing trade tensions, despite lingering concerns about market bubbles. In its Global Market Outlook 2026, the bank notes that although valuations, particularly in US technology stocks, are high, they are not at levels seen before the 2008 financial crisis. Strong AI-driven earnings, improved liquidity and a weaker US dollar are expected to continue supporting risk assets.
Our view is that it is time to think ever more about diversification, and that applies equally whether you're looking at investor based here in Kenya, anywhere in Africa or anywhere in the world. Regardless of where you invest, I think the message of diversification is one we feel quite strongly about.
We are watchful of cases of where inflation starts picking up. Right now is predominantly under control, and we are seeing central banks cutting rates. But again, a rise in inflation could upset the markets. But having said that, we are not putting a very high expectation on those particular lists.
Kenya's vehicle market recorded strong growth in 2025, with new data showing a sharp rise in total sales compared to the previous year. Industry figures point to improved financing conditions and renewed business confidence as key drivers of the rebound. Our reporter Dennis Otieno takes a look at the latest numbers from the Kenya Motor Industry Association.
Kenya's vehicle market grew by nearly 20% in 2025, as total industry sales rose to 13,583 units, up from 11,352 units recorded in 2024. This represents an increase of more than 2,200 vehicles year on year, signaling a strong recovery across the sector. Market leader Isuzu East Africa recorded the biggest volume gains, selling 6,494 units in 2025 compared to 5,390 units the previous year, an increase of just over 20%. Unlike 2024, when sales peaked in December, the 2025 market hit its highest point in August, with 1,384 units sold before easing slightly toward the end of the year. Industry players attribute the growth largely to lower financing costs following interest rate cuts by the central bank in the first half of 2025, which made vehicle loans more affordable and boosted business confidence. Dennis Otieno, Citizen TV.
The Competition Authority of Kenya, CAK, has approved Zenith Bank PLC's plan to buy Paramount Bank Limited, subject to conditions to protect jobs. CAK says the takeover will not significantly affect competition in Kenya's banking sector. However, to address concerns about job losses, Zenith Bank has been ordered to keep all 78 Paramount Bank employees for at least 12 months after the deal is completed. Zenith Bank, whose parent company is listed in Nigeria and London, does not currently operate in Kenya, but runs banking and financial services in several countries across Africa, Europe, the Middle East, and China. Paramount Bank is a Kenyan lender with businesses in banking, bank assurance, and investment banking. The acquisition is intended to strengthen Paramount Bank's finances, help it meet higher capital requirements, and reduce its reliance on shareholder support.
At MKU, we believe education goes beyond the classroom.
This is for the dreamer, the go-getter.
It is about engaging with ideas, questioning assumptions, working